Brian Flores took a different approach than many of us have seen before. Very reminiscent of Roger Staubach.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler.
So that's why I have the Mavs winning in 7, and then Luka's just going to be Luka.
Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew. Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more. I definitely think this is going to be a great series, and I'm interested to see how much Kaprizov can impact the game as a rookie.
Yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Is the Avalanche versus the Blues. I believe the Blues are starting to play some of their best hockey all year, and so they can push this to 6 games.
If Leiter's there, I'm happy with Leiter because I think he fits into what you were saying about a much quicker thing. But if Leiter's not there, which is seeming so, I say Jordan Lawler at number 2.
The same self. The only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
there will be a Rodgers playing for Green Bay, even though he may not be the quarterback. But it's still unknown there. Austin is giving me the dead stare, so I guess don't mention Aaron Rodgers to him right now.
A top 3 corner in the league in Jair Alexander, and pairing him with a really fast corner should definitely assist in their ability to guard anybody in their division and anybody in the league.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. Today we'll be doing a power rankings. We're going to discuss all the teams, and we're going to go by 5. Austin will start first with 30.
So 30. This is almost non-discussable because the Rockets have lost their 11 straight games-ish. Rockets. And then I have Magic at 29. 28, I have Knicks. 27, I have Thunder. 26, I have Pistons. The Knicks have lost 6 games straight. They're 1-9 in their last 10. Their only win is against the Warriors, which definitely affects the Warriors' positioning on my list. But they've been terrible. And then you go to Thunder. Thunder, I think, have been playing better, and Pistons better than them. But all these teams are definitely not the cream of the crop.
Wow, you have Knicks in there. So mine, I thought we were about to agree on all 5, but it was Rockets, Magic, then Pistons, Thunder, and Trailblazers. I put Thunder over Pistons mostly because of that Denver Nuggets win. That was pretty.
Okay. So we agreed on 3 of them: Rockets, Magic, Thunder.
Yeah, and then 25, this is where I have the Knicks, then the Pacers, then the Kings, then the Lakers, then the Wizards.
So we agreed on none of those. I have
None.
Pacers, Kings, Lakers, Blazers, Spurs.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
And then,
I didn't know if you want to talk about Wizards now. How's the KP?
Well, let's go through the
Okay.
next one.
Okay.
So I have 20 through 16. Oh, let me just go over. So the Spurs, the reason why I had them below the Wizards is just they've been struggling. While I do like DeJounte, Keldon, they have a lot of good players. I just need to see everything start to click. The Lakers I have in the middle of that list at 23. They've been struggling. I have the Blazers above them because they've been playing better with Josh Hart, Anthony Simons, and all these other players. The Pacers I have 25. Kings I have 24. Domantas Sabonis was on both of those teams this year, and it doesn't seem like he's got too much of a better team. But 20 through 16, Wizards, Pelicans, Hawks, Hornets, Nets.
Okay. So you have Wizards at 20. And we all have the same. I have the same teams. That's the only team I don't have at 20. But we all have the same teams, but I think we all have them in different spots.
Let's hear it.
20, I have Spurs. 19, Hornets. 18, Pelicans. 17, Nets. 16 Hawks.
Yes. So we basically have all this 21 through 16. 21 through 16, we have all the same teams, none of them in the same place.
Yeah, that's weird. Nets, I think some people may be surprised with the Nets. It's just we still haven't seen Ben Simmons, and KD's still out. I think
No.
KD just returned.
Yeah, he had 31 against the Heat and lost.
Wow. And Kyrie Irving, he's still out for
home games, which is weird. I don't agree with that, but it's
well, yeah. But they signed Goran Dragic, which I think is a very nice signing. When Kyrie is with them, Goran Dragic is a very nice signing for him. Because Kyrie would be starting and then Goran would be coming off the bench and be great with the bench. Like, he's still great starting, but I think Goran off the bench is great when you have Kyrie starting. So
true.
it's just weird.
Now to talk about I was going to go into the Wizards KP trade. Is that what you want to discuss? Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was going to ask you how the KP... I'm feeling very refreshed after my 3 years with KP because now I don't have to go. Is he gonna play? I don't have to look KP out or KP in, KP questionable. That was just
true.
It's very nice seeing Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans playing and contributing to the Mavs instead of me having to think, what will this team look like once KP comes back? And then he comes back for one game and then he has back tightness and he's like, I'm going to wait 8 games. So I don't blame what the Wizards are doing with KP. The Mavs did it in 2019 with our trade. When we traded for him, we're like, hey, sit out. Don't hurt yourself. And this was his first healthy offseason. And I just think with the trade, it's too early to tell because I expect the Wizards to go, hey, sit out. We want you to be fully healthy, have another healthy offseason. Maybe they have different doctors than the Mavs. Maybe they'll do something different. And I think the trade it's very interesting because the Mavs, I believe that Porzingis was a bad contract, and the Wizards believe that Bertans and Dinwiddie were bad contracts. So we're like, hey, let's swap. And now we're seeing Dinwiddie and Bertans contribute to the Mavs. And so it's very interesting, and I am just waiting because I want to see how Porzingis and Beal work together because Beal and Dinwiddie didn't work together, and KP and Luka didn't work together. And I think maybe because Luka's still young, he's still learning to operate with a guy like KP who wants it in the post, and Beal is farther along his career, not much farther. I think he's 6 years, 7.
No. This is, I think, his 8th or 9th.
His 8th or 9th? Okay. So
I think it's his 8th because he was drafted. Well, no. 19 was his rookie year, so 8 because he's 27. Just turned 28.
Okay, cool.
He's 28 or 27.
It would be interesting to see how they work together, and if they work well together, then it may be good. And Dinwiddie has been contributing off the bench. Well, in the starting... We're still figuring out where to put Dinwiddie, and the Bertans I just like because it's crazy to see the threes he shoots. It reminds me a little bit of KP just drilling threes from the logo, except Bertans actually makes some of those threes.
Well, I mean, he isn't shooting well in his tenure with the Mavs.
He isn't shooting well.
But the thing that always concerned me about Davis Bertans was his shot selection. I always was very, very confused. Even if he made it, I was like, why did he shoot that? And then he makes it sometimes, and most of the times recently he's missed them. And then with Spencer Dinwiddie, something that's been very concerning is his short tenure. And again, it's way too early to say anything too much, but he's only shot 52.9%. 9 of 17 from free throw in his 6 games. So that is terrible. But again, it's way too early to tell if that's going to continue or not. And then going back on to the Pelicans, who we didn't mention yet, CJ has played amazing for them. The Hawks have struggled, and they just won last night against the Bulls, but the Bulls are out a lot of people. They play the Wizards tonight. It's a big game for play-in purposes because the Wizards are 11 and the Hawks are 10 in the East. So we'll see what happens in those games, and I'll definitely be watching.
Yeah, and talking about the Pelicans, we talked about the trade. Well, now we're talking about CJ, and you have a nice core. Or you have some nice players with CJ and Ingram. You also have Valanciunas, But the main question is Zion, and I'm just very intrigued what they do with Zion. How does Zion play with this team? And does Zion want to play for the Pelicans? I think if they want to get rid of Zion, I think they'd be fine. Like, I don't think it's terrible. It's just, it's a bad pick if you have to get rid of him and it doesn't work out. But I think you're fine because you still have Ingram and you made the trade for McCollum. So I don't really think it's the doom. I think it's a little sad, of course. Like, whenever you miss on a pick, it hurts, especially when that pick. That's the same draft as John Morant, correct?
Yes, Ja was taken second.
Dang. That. So, it's just that. But it's incredible. I don't. What are your opinions on that? I think CJ and Ingram are nice starting pieces.
Yeah, and then Valanciunas has played amazing. They have good young guys like Herb Jones, who's I love watching Herbert Jones play. And they have some other good young pieces around him. I'm interested to see what's going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if Zion does get moved, but I don't know what his worth is, and we'll have to. I don't think he does get moved if I had to decide because I don't think the Pelicans will get what they want from a former number one pick. What's your 15
Yeah, I
through 11?
agree. I agree with that. So 8 to now we're going through
14,
15
or
through
15,
11.
15, 15.
Yeah. Raptors, Cavs, Clippers, T-Wolves, Warriors.
Very, very close to mine in some respects. I have Raptors at 15 as well, so that's only the fourth one we've agreed upon. Then I have Clippers, Timberwolves, Cavs, Celtics.
Okay. Okay. Celtics are my 10, so we're a little bit close. So
And then my 10 through 6, I have Nuggets, Warriors, Mavs, Bucks, Bulls. I didn't want to drop the Warriors too much based on the recent stretch because of Draymond being out. And then going back to the 15 through 11, the Celtics have been playing very, very well, but I need to see this continued. The Cavs have had a lot of injury concerns, and I'll have to see whether or not they can deal with those. They're 5-5 in the last 10, which isn't bad, but isn't great. Timberwolves, I really like how they're coming along. Same with the Clippers. The Clippers have been playing very well as of late, and then the Raptors haven't, so that's why they're my 15. And then Mavs have beat the Warriors now twice in 3 games. They've also won a good game against the Heat, but their other games they won was against the Pelicans. So they've won some good games, won some bad games. Like they also beat the Lakers by like 8
oh yeah.
after being down in the fourth quarter. But I like how they're doing. I need to see what they do against really premier teams that are hot as well. If they play the Jazz, they play the Nuggets, they play the Grizzlies, they play the Suns, they play the 76ers, they play any one of those teams. I'll be very intrigued. And then for Bulls at 6, injuries, Bucks at 7. I just think the Bulls right now are better than the Bucks because the Bucks have struggled a little bit too, but it's really, really close between those teams. From really 14 up is really where the cream of the crop starts because I really do believe that the Clippers are turning it on.
Yes, I'm scared of the Clippers because Kawhi could come back for the start of playoffs. Is Paul George? He might be able to come back.
Yep.
And they also made some nice moves at the deadline. They traded or they got rid of Ibaka. Ibaka is now in the Bucks, right?
Yes.
Okay, but they still have Batum. They have Zubac, but Norman Powell I think was a nice get for them. They still have Kennard. So I'm interested to see what they do. But Kawhi and Paul George, and if they get in the play-in, then I just thought of there's going to be some way if they get in and they get through the play-in, they're going to match up with the Mavs again for the third time, and that's going to take off total of like 5 years of my life, the past 3 years, dealing with that series.
Yeah.
But I also have Cavs at 4. No. You and I agreed on the Bulls because I have them at 7 as well.
I don't have the Bulls at 7. I have them at 6.
Oh, you have them at 6.
Just go through your 10
Okay.
through 6.
My 10 is Celtics, Mavs, Denver, Bulls, Grizzlies.
Yes, we agreed on none of those.
We agreed on none?
None.
Okay. I put the Mavs at 9 because I was like, they have done well, but I imagined a possible game between Denver and the Mavs. Denver would just destroy the Mavs. Denver's offense would destroy the Mavs defense because you have Jokic and the Mavs do not have a center because we got rid of Porzingis and our center right now is Dwight Powell or Maxi Kleber or Boban. and none of those guys. I think the best one out of that is Maxi.
Consistently speaking, defensively wise, yeah.
So I wouldn't, but it'd still be bad. So like during the Mavs game, I like the Warriors win both times. I also like the Lakers win because like they were resilient all the time. Because you were down 21, came back and won. Warriors, Luka showed some maturity. I didn't watch the game. I gotta watch the Warriors game when we were down by 21, and I was like, great, I watched this. But then they came back, and I'm like, this is the best game. Awesome, it's great, best game of the season that I've watched, I think, because I just haven't been able to watch them. And then the Lakers, I didn't watch that one. I actually fell asleep while watching a movie, and I woke up to my phone. Mavs win. I'm like, cool. So, but they were up 21, and then we lost the lead, but then we came back, and it was just nice. I like Spencer Dinwiddie because he's another ball handler, and while Brunson is a ball handler, he struggles against teams with length. The Warriors giving him fits with Gary Payton 2, or Gary Payton the second, and Spencer Dinwiddie was able to help. And I think now we're trying to see, Brunson is trying to learn how he plays with Dinwiddie and how they pass and shoot. So I'm enjoying it. I also just like seeing Bertans shoot threes because his shot selection is weird. But I think I've grown used to that because of Tim Hardaway. Like, oh, no, and then he makes it. I'm like, okay, never mind. So it's very interesting. Jason Kidd has done a great job this season. So he's kind of making me eat my words on that. But the Bulls, I think Lonzo is still out, or is Lonzo back and Caruso's out?
Lonzo and Caruso, I'm pretty sure are out.
Okay. But if they get healthy, I think it will be very interesting. Because I'm wondering how well they'll do in the playoffs. You also have the Cavs who are in a playoff spot. I'm curious on how they would play. I would probably pick upset on them because they're such a young team, excluding Kevin Love. But the Bulls, I really like DeMar DeRozan. He's playing incredible. I don't think he'll win MVP, but I think he should be talked about in the MVP conversation.
I agree. Jokic is MVP. He's PER wise, player efficiency wise, having the best season of all time. And his box plus minus is 14, which means that when he's on the court, the Nuggets are plus 14 on average. So that kind of shows how absolutely insane he is. But what's your 5 through 1?
My 5 through 1 is Jazz, Heat, Sixers, Bucks, Suns.
So we agreed on 2 of those teams. Jazz, I have at 5. Then I have Sixers, Heat, Grizzlies, Suns.
Interesting. So you have Grizzlies at 2, and I have Grizzlies at 6.
Yes. The Grizzlies have been playing very, very well recently, and if Ja doesn't have to keep this up. We saw with Ja out, they had the biggest win of all time against the Thunder. And I trust Desmond Bane, and I like this bench, and I think that they have some older players like Steven Adams that have been on many playoff runs, but they also have young guns like Ja and Desmond Bane holding things together. I just really like this team, and I'm excited to see where they move on.
Yeah, I'm interested how they do in the playoffs because they're a young team, but you did mention they have some older guys like Steven Adams. Ja is incredible. Also, they have Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane as well. They've really hit on all their draft picks past few years. And Heat. So you have the Sixers. I have the Sixers higher. I'm not that high on the Sixers, even though like I do have my 3. Like you do have Embiid, but you also have Harden. And Maxey is a good supporting cast, but outside of that, I don't know how I feel about the roster. And I'm curious when they get to the playoffs, like how does Harden deal with the ball? How does Embiid deal with the ball? And Embiid has had injury problems, even though he is being healthy. He's been healthy this whole season, majority wise, and just like they always get to the free throw. So that's something I'm interested in. I don't. They will be dangerous, but I don't know if I see them going to the finals in the East. or like the finals, making it through the East. But I think they will do well, sort of, in the playoffs. What are
Yeah, I
your
have to see
thoughts?
how Harden works more than just a couple of games.
Yeah. So then Jazz, we both agree. I'm curious on the Jazz in the playoffs because last year we saw how the Clippers went small, and that kind of eliminated Rudy Gobert. He had to go defend on the perimeter. He's still a great defender on the perimeter, but I believe it's better to have him in the paint because he's such a great shot blocker. And if you have a smaller lineup, that I think eliminates them. And I don't see a problem. I don't see an answer to that problem when a team goes small against the Jazz because they also have Hassan Whiteside, and I think he has the same problem defending on the perimeter. But you do have Donovan Mitchell, and when he played the Mavs, he went off, and he's been going off. So that's always dangerous. And they've been doing well the past few years. So I think there is a chance they go deep in the playoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get kicked out early, like the second round, maybe first round, depending on how matchups shake up. Heat is very interesting because of Kyle Lowry. I think that's a huge push over the top for him because we saw a lot of what this team did a few years ago with Jimmy Butler. It's mostly the same team. They are missing Dragic, but having Lowry, I think, is going to be the key difference maker. And then Bucks, you and I agree on the Suns. The Suns, even without Chris Paul, are doing well, and maybe they should. I think it's expected they'll do well in the playoffs, and it's just crazy how once again Chris Paul, adding Chris Paul is working, or keeping Chris Paul is working for them once again.
Yep, Chris Paul's contract has not been too burdensome, and that's definitely a storyline that's gone positively for the Suns all year. And so we agreed on 6 teams: Rockets, Magic, Thunder, Raptors, Jazz, and Suns.
Interesting.
Some of the bottom, some of the middle, or one in the middle, and some of the top.
Well, yeah, and then we had one where we just couldn't agree on one, but in like the same area, you had the same like tierish, like 21 through
Yeah, 20 through 1
16.
through 16. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. We'll definitely we're always going to bring up the Mavs and the KP trade because like it involves both of our teams, and I think it's very interesting because I think the Wizards and Mavs are in two different spots this season. I think the Mavs were tired of waiting on KP and just seeing what they do when he gets back, and they kind of want just players that would play now, and that's what we're seeing right now with Bertans and Dinwiddie, which is refreshing for me.
Yeah.
While
The Wizards
if the
have
trade
Beal out.
you have Beal out, so why play Porzingis? Maybe 2 healthy off seasons helps him. I don't know. I think the best case scenario for Porzingis is probably at best he plays 60 games a season in the regular season, and then hopefully he's healthy for the playoffs. That's just how he is. So,
Yep, we'll have to see.
yep, we'll have to see. And then you also have the Sabonis and Halliburton trade. That's very interesting. We haven't talked about that yet because it didn't happen on NBA trade deadline. Halliburton was drafted last year, correct?
Yes, this is his second season.
But I kind of see what the Kings are doing, but I'm surprised they didn't move on from a guard that's been in the league longer because of the promise with Halliburton, even though Sabonis is a great player.
Well, they did move off of Buddy Hield as well in that trade. Those Tyrese
Forgot.
Halliburton and Buddy Hield were both in that trade. But I thought they were going to move off of Fox. I would have kept Davion Mitchell and Tyrese Halliburton for the future. But apparently that wasn't enough to get Sabonis. And while I do like the Sabonis move, it kind of negates having oh man.
Who are you
No
thinking
way
of?
I'm forgetting this dude's name. No way I am. Center for the Kings. I'm so dumb for not knowing this. I mean, I know it,
Alex
but
Len?
no, not
Question mark?
Alex Lynn. Uh,
Oh my gosh, he was second. No, it's second, right? What's this?
what?
It's the second pick in Luca's draft.
No, I'm not talking about Marvin Bagley. Marvin Bagley's on the Pistons.
Okay. Man, I have not. All right, I'm interested. Who are you thinking of then?
I know the player. I'm just dumb. Rashawn Holmes. That
Gotcha.
just annoys me a lot. He's a very good, very underrated, very good center. He's had some injuries, but this season he's averaging 11 and 7 and on very, very good field goal percentage. He only attempts 6.9 shots per game and averages 11 points. He shoots 66.9% from the field. Very underrated player, and it kind of negates having him. He's a decent defensive presence, not a great defensive presence. He's okay, but his offensive rating is out of this world because he's very efficient when he shoots. And while I do understand picking up Sabonis, I don't know if that hurts Holmes' ability to put up shots, as he already doesn't shoot that much. But adding another big may negate that altogether.
Interesting. Yeah, so we'll definitely keep an eye on all those trades. Well, that concludes our NBA Power Rankings. Thank you for listening, and be on the lookout for more episodes from Outsiders Opinions.